husband, Mike, was an alcoholic. Obviously, the example that he set with his addiction wasn't all the greatest for a child.
Everybody gets together and shares campfire stories and talks.
We have more quality time. It just allows more family time.
What do we mean by leadership? What do we mean by civic engagement? What does American achievement? Who are those people?
I have court for shoplifting. My greatest fear is going on probation and losing my job, and then in turn having the family court process drag out even longer. That means more time without my daughter, and that means falling back into a depression. That means a greater chance of relapse, and that's not something I'm willing to allow to happen.
Good afternoon, Judge.
Okay, Ms. Norland, you're being charged with petty theft, and is the state ready to proceed?
The state is, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Ma'am, so this is the offer that they're making to you. It's either pretrial diversion, which is usually a course that can be like 4 to 12 hours depending on the course. The other offer, if you don't want to take the class, is a withhold of adjudication, court costs. What would you like to do today?
I'll do the pretrial diversion.
Pretrial diversion?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, perfect. So I'm going to put here that you're accepting the...
I'm grateful for the outcome. This could have been a lot worse, and this is kind of best case scenario, and it's not something that I ever thought would happen, but I'm grateful it did. I was about 23 when I found out I was 6.5 months pregnant with my first daughter, Peyton. 7 months, 21 days, I was clean and sober. I was living with my husband's father, and on November 3rd of 2013, he drove up off the driveway into the backyard and hit and killed my daughter in front of me.
That little girl reached parts of my heart that I never even knew existed. There you go.
We let it go together. You ready? I wrote, "Mommy loves you. I miss you each and every second of every minute of every day. Love you, Bug. Until we meet again, Mommy." My mom is I think her concern is Sawyer, as it always has been. It's, I think she's concerned about our stability. She thinks the process is moving quite fast as far as reunification and everything, which I mean,
It's not.
In her mind it is, because I'll speak for myself. I spent 7+ years getting high, and from what she's seen, it's only been a year that I've been sober.
So basically your mom doesn't like that it's a process.
Right, I think she wants to do joint custody for the remainder of Sawyer's life.
Do I think shared custody for the next 18 years is... No, I don't think it's realistic at all. But do I think your mom should have like open visitation?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, it's actually what's best for you, your husband, and your child.
Right, well,
what's best for her is to be with her parents.
Right. I'm extremely sensitive when it comes to her, and it's not just because of this situation, it's because of what happened with Peyton. I know I'm being judged so harshly because of that. Like, my mom has fears over that as well, and that it's not that they're out of place. I don't.
But they're not the same.
Right. I know that in those circumstances, everyone looks for someone to blame, and that person was me, because I'm
That was an accident.
right. But
Accidents happen.
I blame myself, so I kind of.
That takes time.
And it sucks that I feel like I'm not going to be able to live up to them, and that makes me feel inadequate.
You need to learn how to accept that you'll probably never please your parents.
My husband, Mike, was an alcoholic. He died while drinking and driving when Allison was in high school. Open the gate. Obviously, the example that he set with his addiction wasn't all the greatest for a child. I know she smoked pot. I don't think pot is an issue, but I do feel that when she went away to school, she got into some groups that were doing more than just marijuana. After Sawyer was born, Allison lived here to feed her drug habits. She was coming up with these unbelievable stories. You know, I got a speeding ticket. I don't have money to pay. I need money for daycare. My check was short. She made up this one story that one of the drug dealers showed up at church with a gun, and that he told her that he knew where her daughter went to daycare and he knew where she was living.
See your new seat?
They both stole from me. John did some things that were totally inappropriate as far as violating my identity.
Where's your Jeep, doctor?
I got full custody in November. They've been having the opportunity to have her on the weekends. And then they don't call at all during the week. And they could call at night to say goodnight. I just feel that Sawyer's here for a reason. And I don't think it's to be the reward because her mom and dad finally have their act together in their addiction. I'm very proud of both of them. They're great people. But I don't think either one of them have the capacity to be able to really take care of her.
Ha ha ha.
All right, bye. Yes! I'm so excited.
We have put a $500 deposit down on an apartment. Our intention is to move by the end of the month. My grandmother passed away on my dad's side. She left something of an inheritance for each one of her kids. My grandmother's gone, but she definitely left us with some hope.
Put it back.
We've been staying in the three-quarter-way house together, and I mean, needless to say, we're kind of ready to take that next step. As soon as we have the apartment, then we will start having overnight visitation with our daughter, which is absolutely the end goal. We're working towards reunification, so it's basically just speedballing us forward, and it's amazing. It's definitely a blessing.
I'll open the door, you get the gun, how about that? I'm blowing these guys up.
I want it to feel like home, to be something that we can all grow in, because it is a growing process. John is a little bit more easygoing. He wants a nice kitchen. So as long as we find a place with a nice kitchen, he's happy.
You know, I have concerns. I have concerns that, you know, the money that we're going to be paying every month, not that it's not possible to pay, I just don't want to be house poor, you know? I want to be in a position where we do things now, you know, with Sawyer. When we go see her, we visit with her, because I still want to be able to try and save some money too.
I don't think it would necessarily be unreasonable to cut back smoking or take away us eating out, which we do a lot, to not be, as you said, house poor, and still facilitate taking Sawyer out and doing all the things we like to do with her.
No, I know.
You know, so I think to constantly better our lives is paramount.
I agree. I totally agree.
So to have a nice place for not only us, but for Sawyer to come to me,
that's important.
It's a sense of accomplishment. It kind of validates all the hard work and effort that both of us have put into this.
All right.
Okay. All right, good afternoon, everyone. Okay, so we've got Mom, Dad, Grandma. How are you guys doing?
Really great.
Yeah? Everything's going well?
Very well.
Tell me. Well, this is a very demanding program, and they have a lot to do in a very short period of time. Not because the court said so, but because the Adoption and Safe Families Act require us to reunify families within a year to 18 months. But I think the fact that we were so tough on you, we were like a brick wall with you. You couldn't get around us, really, and I think that that's what helped.
Well, I appreciate it very
That's
much.
not something we're used to, is that brick wall.
I want to hear from the family members that they feel that they're stable enough to take the children into their custody. Grandma, how do you feel about reunification?
I think that, they've been doing an incredible job just focusing on them. I think the transition of reunification should be as smooth and not hasty, like John said, just looking for a place in Miami.
They're both intelligent, they'll work it out. This is what adults do, they work these issues out. We're not asking parents to be perfect. We're not asking them to live the way that you might live or I might live, but we are asking them to live sober lifestyles, free of violence, and to be able to nurture and care for their children. That's what we're looking for.
Because she deserves the best version of us.
Right. So this is what we want to hear from our parents, right? They go to their services.
I think Judge Cohen is amazing, and she understands that this is a disease, but I think it's wrong that Sawyer is used as the carrot to keep them clean.
And then we'll do sort of a slower reunification, like we'll do weekends, and then if that works out, we'll do, during the week, we'll give them a chance to get their feet wet.
Oh, you're doing an amazing job. So therefore, you get an apartment, and if the apartment's great, then we'll let Sawyer spend the night. And then we'll let her spend the weekend, and pretty soon, you're gonna get her back 100%. That's just not right. Because being sober doesn't qualify someone to be a great parent.
If you need to come in before so we can do overnights, just get it on the calendar.
And I just feel Judge Cohen, to get this out of the court, is pushing it, and that is a court process. It's not a development process. I just haven't seen that John and Allison rearrange their lives for Sawyer. My fear is that as hard as she wants to be sober, that one day she's gonna let her guard down. I sleep so well at night now, knowing that Sawyer is safe, and that if I get a phone call, I get a phone call. I got a phone call when my husband died. I got a phone call when Peyton died. If I get another phone call, it's not anything to do with me. And I'm not gonna say it's God's will, but it is what it is. And death is death. And I've come to terms that it's okay if it's her. But I'm not okay if they have Sawyer again. I'm not.
I just celebrated my 60th birthday. I've been racing motorcycles since 1969. Okay, I gotta get geared up. I just celebrated my 60th birthday, which is wonderful. I've been racing motorcycles since 1969. I was 11 years old. And the first time I did it was just, that was it for me. I thought this is what I want to do as long as God allows me. My sister also raced. She was the very first women's national champion ever in 1974. They sent her to Europe to race with the men there. She raced all over Europe for about 3 months. I stayed back. I was still very young and stuff. But gradually got better and better and better, and then I was recognized by Yamaha, and I was approached by Yamaha, and I got a factory ride with Yamaha, and that was, factory means I didn't go to a shop and buy the bike myself. The factory, whoever makes Hondas, whoever makes Yamahas, they came to me and said, we want to give you a bike, and mechanics will pay for all your races, you'll and we'll pay for everything. We just want you to race our bikes. People think it's way cool now. It was back when I was in high school. They assumed and I hate to say it, they assumed I was a lesbian because it was a stereotype that women that rode motorcycles were butch and kind of, just like, and that couldn't be farther from the truth. You usually have to have 6 people in your, like 6 girls, to have your own class, to race out on the track by yourself, without the men, without just by. My dad would walk up and down the pits and offer to pay the girls' entries so that we could have our own class. Sometimes we got it, sometimes we didn't. But if we didn't, then we raced with the boys.
Lori's my best friend. I take pride in her going out and racing. And she won 6 out of 6 races today. And that I love that. And that's why I prep her bikes for her and get her out, and stuff. So I have been beat by women, and they're professionals. I didn't think anything of it. I didn't say, oh, they got a better bike or this or that. No, they flat beat me. And the bottom line is, if you go out and you put in the work and you do the training, you're going to be the faster person. Because this is not a sport where you just show up.
The problem is the promoters of the big races and things we're like an afterthought. So they don't include the pro women racing on their schedule. A few years back they did, we would even be televised, but we would be on either a day that wasn't televised, they would be racing on a day that wasn't televised, or they would have their race during the commercials and stuff. So you still didn't, there was still not the respect that needed. These girls are fast, and they're dedicated, and they're strong, and they have the same love that any of the men do. Oh, hi.
How was it?
Oh, it was so much fun.
Yeah?
So much fun.
How's it go? Well, the road is rocky, but it won't be rocky long. Well, the road is rocky, but it won't be. This is my camper. I bought it in April. It has 3 parts. It has a bedroom, it has a kitchen, and it has a bathroom. This is the bedroom, and I add the curtains so you would have privacy. Here's my little kitchen, enough room for 2. Here is where we cook. Here we have our microwave and our refrigerator, very small. You can run it off of electric or off of propane or off of the battery, so it's multiple power sources. And in here, if you come, it's the best part. Let me get the light ready for you. This is the luxury. This is the camper. here. And here is the camping luxury. As you can see, we have a full bath with a toilet, a sink, and a shower. It's very, very nice. It's very small, but it's very good.
The thing about a motorhome, this is called a motorhome. It's not a camper because it's self-propelled. So it's got a big diesel in the back, and it's like a self-contained home. It's got air conditioning, satellite TV, a washer and dryer, refrigerator, sink, microwave, coffee pot, just like you would have in an apartment. So it's like a moving apartment.
It's like having a vacation every weekend because, you have your own camper, so you pull it. It's less, it's less expensive. So we can camp every weekend. It's a little bit of a getaway. It's only an hour away.
It's like driving a car, but it's such a big car, you have to be really careful because if you're not paying attention, you can't stop a vehicle like this as quickly as you can a car.
Here, you go in, you go out, and everybody gets together and shares campfire stories and talks, and your kids fall asleep and you carry them in. It's a lot better than a motel.
We have more quality time. My boys grew up here, so they learned how to ride their bikes here, learning to fish, things like that. So it just allows more family time.
So it's time to cook dinner.
I want people to recognize that history is an arc, that what you do matters. This exhibition is called 1 Year, 1968, An American Odyssey. And it was a very tumultuous time in American history, and I would say that many people across the world still also remember 1968. This is a year when we get 2 assassinations. We of course have the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr. and then later Senator Bobby Kennedy. America is in Vietnam and it is not going well. President Lyndon Baines Johnson, who of course had assumed the presidency because of the assassination of John Kennedy 3 years earlier, was having very bad approval ratings. In fact, it had gone from 80% to 32%. And he announces that he's not going to rerun for the presidency. The photograph behind me is incredibly important. It's very iconic. It's actually taken by one of the astronauts on the Apollo 8 mission that actually circled the Earth. And this, of course, is a picture of the Earth taken from the window. This is a moment, I think, when suddenly not just America but the world realizes how small we are. We're all on this little marble, the little blue marble. So this orients the globe, the citizens of the world, in a way that almost no other picture has done since that time. This small but I think mighty exhibition actually indeed provides a time capsule, but in some ways maybe a portent of some of the things that we need to be thinking about today. So for example, there is a very dramatic cover that was put on Time magazine in June to describe a story that they were doing about the gun in America, and it's very confrontational because a gun is literally pointed at you, the reader, viewer. This is, of course, a conversation that continues in America today, and really giving people a context that we've been here before, we will be here again. We are having these contexts about what do we want this country to be.